Hello, welcome back to the YouTube. This is gonna be a raw talk of me just telling you guys about why I'm actually doing this. Why do I stay up for 20 hours a day thinking about my clients, asking myself how I can be a better coach, and constantly trying to improve my program? Um, and it comes down to one specific thing: helping the version of me that needed it the most, that had no one. You see, back when I, you know, was coming up in 2020, 2019, um, got bullied, was incredibly skinny, um, had lacked drive, lacked motivation, but it was mainly because I lacked direction. I really had nothing that I was passionate about. And I loved basketball, say that. But I mean, I knew I really didn't have a future in it. It was more so just something fun I did. But lo and behold, one day, it was COVID, March 2020, and I got a pop up on my Instagram of an Instagram live from David Goggins. And I don't know why, but I just felt compelled to open it. And lo and behold, I opened it and he was having a 1 hour Instagram workout. Like, he was just doing it for his community because he knew that gyms are closed, right? So, you know what? This guy is exactly who I want to be like. Why don't I just do it? What do I have to lose by joining a 1 hour workout that David Goggins is putting on? Joined it. The hardest freaking 1 hour I've ever spent. Like, I think it was like over 1,000 push-ups in a span of an hour. It was like 110 crunches, like hundreds of lunges and squats that we had to do. It was like muscle numbing, like the hardest thing I've ever had to do up until that point. And I told myself, I'm like, I remember the way I felt after I ended up doing that workout, and it was the best feeling I've ever had. I kid you not, the amount of accomplishment I felt at 1:30 p.m. on March 30th, I don't think I can ever replicate that. The burst of dopamine, but it wasn't the dopamine you get when you know you're effing up. It wasn't the burst of dopamine that you get from eating unhealthy foods or doing whatever it is that give us, the short spurts of dopamine. It was like an internal feeling of happiness, of accomplishment, a feeling that, damn, I did that. And I didn't want to let go. The entire rest of my day, I felt abundant. I felt happy. I felt grateful. I felt joyful. It was like I saw color for the first time. And all I wanted to do was stay in that bucket, stay in that wavelength, stay in that vibration for the rest of my life. And that's how I fell in love with working out. So I made a vow to myself, for the next 30 days, I'm going to take a picture of my physique and document myself on this journey. And so I did that exact same workout. He had a recording posted for one day after, so I wrote down the entire workout. And I did that workout every single day. And then I looked at other workouts that he had online on YouTube and did that as well. This 1 hour full body workouts. I got to the point where I was doing like 1,000 push-ups a day and like hundreds of pull-ups a day. And I would work out all day, every day, because that's the only thing that kept me sane. Working out was the only thing that made me feel like I had purpose, that made me feel that I wasn't just some, just another individual. At that point, I just felt like just another person. I had nothing going for me. I had no. If you asked me what was the difference between me and anyone else in the street, I would have told you nothing. Right? I had no confidence, and no ability to put myself out there at all. No voice. And the minute I found working out, everything changed. And fast forward, for 1 year, I stayed strong, right? Like the minute gyms opened up, I remember, I think it was like God's calling. It's funny how small decisions get you to where you are, because looking back, had I not um, ended up doing that workout, I would not be here today. Number one. And number two, I remember having an issue with like a statistics question. And I called one of my friends up, a close friend of mine, and because he's like a genius, right? And I'm like, hey, do you know the answer to this, whatever? And he was like, hold up, I'm at the gym right now. I'll call you back. I'm like, wait. What, you're at the gym? What gym? I didn't even know there was a gym near me that had opened up. And he was like, yeah, just da da da. The next day, he took me to the same gym, and I got a membership. Had that not happened, I would not be here today. And fast forward, every single day, I got my driver's license just so I could go to the gym, because I was sick and tired of telling my parents to drop me to the gym. Before that, I had zero urgency to get my driver's license. And I was hooked. I bulked for a year, got incredibly overweight. And I went from like 120 to 190, over 190 at one point, in a span of 6 months. Force feeding myself till I couldn't breathe. Like when skinny people tell me that, oh, I can't gain weight, I laugh. I genuinely just chuckle in my head, because it's just a mentality issue. Everything is just a mentality issue. There's no I can't. Everyone has done something that you want to accomplish, and you saying I can't is just because you believe you can't. The person who believes they can is correct, and the person who believes they can is also correct. But I digress, and as I kept going throughout the journey, I eventually, in May of 2022, this was after like a full year and a half of straight bulking, right? Straight force feeding myself. I felt disgusting. I felt like I'd gone way too far in the opposite direction. And now I was at a point where, I hated the way I looked, right? I worked out for what? I worked out so I could look in the mirror and just see a blob. I worked out so I, could feel strong in the gym, but just leave the gym and the pump goes away and I'm just a regular individual that has a 30% body fat. I didn't want to live like that. And it was a hard transition, but I made the decision to cut down. And, the first few weeks was the hardest thing. Like I yo-yo dieted. I started, then a week would go by and I feel like I would get skinny, and then I would force feed myself again, and I would go in a cycle for like a month and a half. And I remember like sitting on the couch and just being like, damn, I'm right back where I was after weeks of trying. And at this point, it was like mid-June, and I'd had enough. I lost a little bit of weight, but I was about 180 something pounds, and I wanted to get all the way down to 155. And I wanted to do it by summer, and summer had already come. And I was in a position where I was like, it's either now or never. And I got my stuff together. I stayed on my diet. That I told myself, I made the decision that I'm not going back anymore. I stayed on my diet. And by the end of August, I was right where I wanted to be. I lost 30 pounds in just a couple months. And it was tough. My routine, and I ate the same things every day, I kid you not. Wake up, and it was eggs and rice cakes. Then I would go on a 3-mile walk, come back to chicken and a protein shake. Bland chicken and a protein shake. And I remember I used to take chicken and no seasoning, no nothing, just throw it in the air fryer. And that was my lunch. And then I would go work out off of like 0 carbs, come back, and then immediately like salmon and maybe like this much of rice, like this much. And back then I had no idea about nutrition, like genuinely nothing. I knew about calories in, calories out, but I had no idea how the macros affect how you feel, how you look, etc. So I was just doing things based on what I've heard online, and I ended up looking pretty okay, and I cut down, but I mean, I felt awful. And I know I could have done it quicker and smarter having known what I know now, but it was part of the journey. And, looking back, I don't know how I did it. Maybe it's because it was like the newbie phase, but even after not having any carbs, I got leaner and I got stronger. I was pushing like 100 pounds on the shoulder press at 160 pounds, like 200-pound dumbbells. I eventually got to like 110-pound dumbbells. So I screwed up my shoulder, but it showed me that it was just another part of the journey where I was like, damn, like I look around and not many people can do this. Not many people can stay on a diet plan. Not many people can do a workout plan. Maybe I do have something that's not normal. Maybe I'm not just, another number, another person. Maybe I have something to offer. And maybe I can help someone. And so I tried posting on social media. And I tried to put my story out there. And for the rest of 2022, I was pretty diligent with that. Throughout college, throughout the semester, whatnot. And then in January of 2023 and December of 2022, my grandmother got really sick. And she's the most important thing to me. And so I ended up falling into a mini depression for a few months. I didn't want to go outside. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want to be around anyone. I hated being around anyone. And it took me back to 2020 before I started working out, where I had anxiety leaving my house. Because the last thing I wanted to do was see someone I know and get into an interaction that involves communicating. Social interaction scared the shit out of me. And I avoided it at all costs. And this took me back. I felt the exact same way. Despite having built a physique that I was proud of at the time, I still felt like right back down to square one. And, it was the first time throughout my fitness journey where I started doubting myself. And I was like, you know what, I gotta take a break. And those thoughts loomed over me every day. I dreaded waking up. All I wanted to do was lay in my bed and sleep and not think about the world, because I didn't know what was going to happen to my grandmother. And the thought of losing her, it tore me apart. I would visit her every day in the ICU. And the minute I see her, just want to crumble into like a shell. Because when you see someone you love going through something like that, like words can't even explain it. And I remember asking my friend like every day to drive me from my college to the hospital to get like my 15 minutes of visitation a day and be with her. And I could have very, very easily told myself that I just gotta, I need time, I need space, I need to not work out, but I didn't. And I swallowed the shit and I just kept grinding. In fact, I just used it as motivation. I don't know why, but I took it as like a personal attack from God. Like, why? Why her? It could be anyone but her. Why? And I kept pushing. And I think everything in my life I've always used as a form of motivation, as a trampoline to get to the next step. And I failed multiple times. But one constant was that I never freaking gave up. And I'm grateful for that. Because, Your choices lead you to where you are today. And had I just crumbled into my shell, as I said, and let that feeling to not make me do the things I need to do, I wouldn't be fit today. I'd be overweight, out of shape, unhappy, unsuccessful. Because I was able to go through grief and still push, I think that's why, that period of my life was so transformative. And lo and behold, she ended up feeling a lot better, which thank God for that. But 2023 summer, I told myself, I'm like, enough wasting time. I've been thinking about hiring a coach for a long time up until that point because I really want to take it to the next level. But finally, in June of 2023, I made that move, and I hired my coach. One of the best decisions of my life. Awesome individual, and he tore apart my entire workout plan. Made me feel like I knew nothing because honestly, back then I didn't. And totally revamped my workout plan. Totally revamped my nutrition plan. Told me I wasn't eating any fat in my diet, and we started getting those in. I was eating like 1,700 calories a day and wasn't losing fat. And then he upped my calories by 1,000, and I started losing fat like that. I was like, man, this guy's a wizard. But I ended up training with him for 7 months and then telling him, look, I want to compete. And, this is like January of 2024. By December 2023, I met my girlfriend and life was awesome, right? And January of 2024 rolled around, February 2024, whatever it was, and I felt compelled to make another leap. I think in life, you can go maybe a year, maybe 2, maybe 3, doing the same things you're doing, and then you feel like you're in a box and you feel trapped and you need to do something, or at least me, to explore new avenues of what you're made of, right? A new challenge that you can set out after. I've always been like that. I can't go for more than 6 months without getting an itch to do something else, to go explore something else. And despite me constantly getting better in the gym for those 6 months that I was with him, I wanted to have something to strive towards. And that was a bodybuilding competition. And in August of 2024, I did my first bodybuilding competition, but that prep from February to August, those 7 months or 6 months, whatever, were complete hell. Throughout the summer, I was working around 12 hours a day. I would wake up at 4 a.m., go to the gym, do my 55 minutes of cardio, then go to work, be in work by 6, get out by 5 or 6, then go straight to the gym, hit my workout, and then come back, and then not eat anything because I had nothing left to eat, and I was on like 1,800, 2,000 calories a day to get lean for my competition. No energy whatsoever for like 6 months straight. And it was tough. And there was so many. I remember one day, I was at dinner with my girlfriend and I couldn't eat because I had to eat my Tupperware freaking chicken and rice. And I remember saying to her, I'm like, wow, like we still have 10 more weeks of this left. And I'd already been prepping for like 12 weeks, and at the 10-week mark. And I was like, this is not worth it. Like, should I quit? And she told me, and she was like, no, you're already here. You're going to finish what you started. And so I kept going. And for those next 10 weeks, I didn't look over my shoulder. I just kept pushing. And, the time came around where I stepped on stage, and although I was very happy with the way I looked, I didn't place well. I placed like shit. And it kind of tore me apart. The fact that I worked for 22 weeks straight, nonstop, knowing that maybe a lot of the other competitors weren't doing that. And it sucked. It sucked. But like everything else, take it and use it as a trampoline to push forward. So in the fall of 2024, I kept training. I kept pushing. And this time with a different strategy. This time, I focused on progressively overloading in the gym. I really honed in on my meal plan throughout college. No, none of this, oh, I'm in college, I have fun. No. This was like dialed in. This was tracking everything, scale for everything, right? And with that progress came. I got ridiculously strong at every movement. I was moving 4+ plates on squats, full depth at a certain point. And I was like 160 some odd pounds. And then fast forward to February of 2025, and guess what? I did it again. I had been coaching, people for a little bit now, free. And then I had a mentor who was a coach as well, and I asked him, look, can you just mentor me throughout this prep? I want to coach myself, but can you mentor me throughout this prep? And I ended up doing another bodybuilding competition. And this competition, I looked a lot better. And the prep was a lot harder because I was actually working. And I was going back and forth between 2 states a ton. And, despite that, despite all the commuting, I still looked the very best I looked on that day. And it showed. And my placing was a lot better. And this was another point where I was like, damn, if I keep working, the sky is the limit. And that one, like the kid who was in 2020 had no direction, no idea what he wanted to do. If he looked at me on stage in 2025, be like, what the hell? Like, there's no way we did that, right? And that's all I've ever wanted, right? And, after that show in August, I knew I had something else in me. Like, I had done 2 competitions. I had taken those leaps before. I just didn't know what to leap into. I know I didn't want to do another competition. I feel like I got my fix for that. And those 4 months were really tough because I was looking on ChatGPT, looking up, I don't like my life. What do I do? I love fitness. What do I do? And chat all kept telling me to post on social media again after I had stopped in 2023, and I just couldn't get myself to do it. And then, for 4 months, I just wasted it. I mean, I worked out, I trained, and I loved it for what it was, but there was really no progress there, right? It was just work, gym, sleep. But then I remember I ended up going to the gym on December 28th, working out with a friend. And this friend told me, you should start fitness coaching. I'm like, what? Huh? And he's like, yeah. Like, I make an income off of fitness coaching. You should start it. You have a good physique. I'm like, yeah. In my head, I've thought about it, right? I'm like, I have coached people for free. Why don't I just monetize that? And he was telling me about how he has a mentor and how this mentor tells you every single thing you need to know about building an online fitness coaching brand. I was thinking about it like, wait, this is probably going to be a lot of money. I don't know if I really want to invest that much. But I was on the treadmill after that workout, and I thought to myself, every single decision that I've made that was transformative for my life, I acted based off intuition, and I acted without thinking. When I had opened that Instagram live for David Goggins, it was purely off impulse, purely off something telling me in the universe to go do it. When I had signed up for that bodybuilding competition, purely based off impulse. I knew I was in college. I knew that this was going to be incredibly difficult, but something in the universe was telling me, do it. And all of these decisions that I've made that have led me to the period that I am today, and becoming the individual that I am today, all were mini decisions at the time that expanded based on, the importance that, that God put in it. And had I not listened, I would not be here. And I thought to myself on the treadmill, I know something is calling me to do this. And I just let it take over. I booked a call with that mentor, and the next day I paid him up front. Everything up front. Didn't do any financing options, didn't do monthly. I paid in front. And that was the best decision of my life. Because, yeah, the first few months were slow. And the first few months were incredibly hard, and I felt taxed, and I felt like this isn't working, and this is a waste of time, and that I was talking on my phone to 200 people, and no one gave a crap. And half of them, 75% of them, people from high school that are probably laughing at me. But I was like, you know what? Keep going. And lo and behold, March came around, and I hit my first 5-figure month. In fact, I blew right past it. And in January, a 5-figure month was like, that is the dream. 10K in a month off of fitness coaching, off of what I love, that's the freaking dream. I didn't even think that was possible in 6. I didn't even think that was possible in a year. And I got there in 3. And I thought to myself, this doesn't even feel like work, though. Like, I was coaching people that I love to coach. I was doing things every day, teaching people about my passion. Doing things that made me feel fulfilled every single day. And I was getting paid for it? Like, did I really just make it at 23 years old? But it was never about the money. I've come to realize that it's purely about the game. It is purely about feeling discontent and taking that leap. Every single damn time, not thinking, shutting your brain off and just moving. Trusting your gut, trusting your intuition, and moving with that confidence. Because had I not taken those actions on a whim, I would be in the exact same position as I was. Had I not taken that action in 2020, I would be skinny, scrawny, and happy, sad. Had I not taken that action in 2024, I would not know how it felt like to go through that diet, to go through that pain, and still come out on top. Same thing with 2025. Right? Had I not had the dedication to keep pushing when a loved one was in the hospital, I would not be here today. All these little decisions that tell you that something in the universe is telling you to do it, it's for a reason. Listen to that voice. Listen to that voice and do not let go when it tells you to move forward. I've realized that every single time up until 2020, I bit on this ledge. I was on this ledge of, I don't know, it seems scary, I'm not going to jump. Until one day I freaking realized the reason why I'm in this position, I hate myself, is because I've never freaking jumped. And the minute you jump, and your back is against the wall, you have no choice but to climb back up. But the minute you reach the top of the summit again, you gotta jump. That's how life works. That's how growth works. It's a never-ending cycle, but the beauty of it is in the grind, is in the journey. Everyone talks about that, but no one actually internalizes how important it is. Now, all I think about is new ways to put myself through discomfort, put myself in positions to where, damn, I don't know how I'm gonna get out of this, but I'm gonna get out of it. Putting myself, whether it's looking at you and talking, I don't want to do this. I don't want to talk on camera. People make fun of me, and that used to bother me. But now that it's working, it doesn't really bother me as much. But even when it did bother me a crap ton back in January, if I had stopped and been like, no, screw this, I would not be here today. Listen to the intuition. Take action. Relentless action. And don't give up until it's all said and done. Because the only way you can fail is if you check yourself out of the game. Life is a never-ending game. There is no buzzer until you're... And the minute that you check yourself out from your dreams, man, game's over. Right? So if anyone out there is watching, has something that they know they have to do, and they're in this sort of box, and they know the way out of the box, they're just hesitant to take action upon it, do it. Do it and don't look back. Because the minute you do it, you'll figure out how to get out of it. And to get to where you want to go. Because you burned all your boats. Right? So, hope you guys enjoy that video. That's a little bit on my story. A little bit on why I'm doing what I am. And my mentality on growth. Take the leap. You won't regret it. If you want to book a one-on-one call for coaching, it's in the description. But if not, have a great day.